Are we okay? We got the fucking... We've got to do the fucking... shit that we for fucking drug abuse. No! Are you listening?
Sean here. Before I begin, I would love to have a stream with like 6 well-known Lornography females and have them discuss what it was like to deal with men who exhibited some of these behaviors, extreme cases, extremely light cases, moderate cases, and find out what they did to overcome it, what they did to escape it, or at least how they negated it or lessened it. I think that would be an eye-opener for a lot of people and show just how much trouble it can be to escape from somebody like this. I want to talk about a phrase, and again, a lot of times we listen to this guy and we just gloss over some of the extraneous crap he says. But I remember one, and I went back and checked. It's Lorne leaving Debbie a voicemail. Of course, she hasn't called him back, and this may even be during the time that Tiffany said she wasn't even checking the phone. He was just going straight to voicemail. He said, "Sucks going through it. I just wish we were past all this. I wish we were past all this." That is a stalker mindset. This is a guy who thinks he's going to live happily ever after with Debbie. And he's telling her, "I wish we were past all of this," referring to the part where she's telling him, "I don't like you. I will never like you. As a matter of fact, I hate you. I told you when we were reading the chat log, we'll never have a relationship. 1 in a million. In Lorne's head, fair chance. We're headed towards a relationship. He's saying, "I wish we were past all of your rejection." Because all that rejection is nothing but a smokescreen. No means yes. We will eventually be together. If Tiffany had lived in the same area as Mr. Penis, he would be driving to wherever she was. I don't think he would make himself known for a long time. I think he would be getting bolder and bolder, hoping that she would turn around and see him. Because in his head, and in a lot of these psychos' head, and I'm using psycho, but you know, psycho is different. I'm just saying, I think these people are crazy. It would justify the fact that she saw him. He wasn't stalking her. He could use an excuse. "Oh, you just happened to see me." No. I was just in this area. I swear I wasn't stalking you. He wasn't stalking you. You. They use a lot of tactics. I'm going to keep this basic and simple. There are 2 types, at least in my head: the direct stalkers and the peripheral stalkers. Now, peripheral stalkers, Lorne does this because he can only do his stalking over the phone. Lorne hits up everyone around his intended victim. He gathers information that way, pulls from A, B, C, D, E. And then when he finally gets to talk to his victim, because that's what they are, he uses all of the information he's gathered. I told you about the call that really makes me mad with the "you're learning Spanish." When Debbie's telling him, as I said, she's living her best life, and he's still trying to manipulate her and demean. "Can't give any compliments. I'm not happy for you." But he goes on the peripheral, and he will try to turn all of those people against the victim. Collect information, convert the friends or family. He can't handle rejection. I told you the story, and I'm going to get into a little bit further, about the guy who basically threatened and forced his wife into having a threesome with another woman, and sometimes just 2 women while the other 2 watched. I'm not giving any names out. I don't feel guilty about saying it. She left him. When she came back and she told him she left him, I told you he kept her pinned up against the wall, and his son was blocking the door, and they were trying to exorcise her. They were throwing holy water at her. I'm not joking. Well, the point is, he wanted to know everything that she was doing. He wanted to follow her around. He was the guy with the sensors on the windows. He was the GPS on her car. He would want to know, the window's cracked. Are you leaving? But the what I'm getting at is he would go to her family and tell them all she was this lesbian, she did a lot of cheating and everything else. This guy went to her family, who is a Christian family, and he's doing all of this, trying to make himself the hero. If Lorne got busted, look at what happens when he screws up. He goes to everybody else. Fucking Dan, when he hurts Casey, he starts trying to blame it on Dan, because Dan's not on the phone. But he goes to each and every person on the outside to try to make himself a hero and try to make the victim the villain. The dangers of the peripheral stalker is sometimes if these stalkers are successful, they are then befriending your family members or your friends, and they will remain a part of your life. They will now have woven themselves into the fabric of your existence, and they have done so because you will have to cut off all communication with whoever it is that they've tainted, whoever it is that they've turned against you or converted or at least become involved with. That is a strong tactic that they use. It's another method of control, and they will have to be in your life no matter what. When I was separated, I completely abandoned anyone who had anything to do with her. But it didn't help. And I'm going to share something with you. It was Christmas Eve. I knew people had been coming up to me, man, I'm so sorry. What are you sorry about? Oh, yeah, we're getting separated. Yeah, well, I saw her out at something with so-and-so. Well, anyway, at Christmas Eve, I get a phone call. And I am making a point. And it's someone that is friends with both of us. And she's apologizing, saying, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And she's telling me, I didn't stop her. She's telling me all of this stuff that happened that my ex did. And how she was making me look like a monster. And the day after she told me she wanted a divorce, well, we both decided, and I just kind of went quietly. She was at a party with mutual friends talking about, now, how do you get laid? I haven't done this in forever. And this is like a day after she told me she wanted a divorce. The time that she guilted me into watching the kids extra while I was trying to see my family, she said it was for some bullshit reason, and she gave me a bunch of crap. Turns out she was at a wine tasting party. When she told me to watch the kids before, it turns out she was on a date. This is what I dealt with. Now, I'm a rational human being, and that's her life. Once we separated, that was her life. So I didn't care. Like, good for her. Yes, it hurt. It hurt really bad, but I think it was rejection. But I was happy that she was moving on and that this would soon be over. Forgetting, of course, that we had kids and it won't be over until they're both 18. Now, if that had been Lorne, imagine what would have happened. The rage, the text messages, the phone calls, the driving by the house, possibly driving to the significant other's house, whoever she was hooking up with at the time. He wouldn't let it go. He couldn't let it go. And there would be no peace for his ex or for the man. Now, I also have something else to say about Lorne real quick. If he was to sleep with a prostitute, I told you he'd fall in love. He'd have a poem. He'd be in his white truck, pulling up, singing out of the window, I loved her first, trying to serenade this prostitute. Because that's Lorne. He's never had sex, never will. Don't argue with me. Any woman he had sex with, they would be mated for life. I still remember my first. I'm sure all of you remember your first. Hopefully it wasn't what we talked about yesterday. Hopefully it was consensual, and hopefully it was with someone you cared about. If it was a one-night stand, high five, whatever. No one's judging. But you remember them. The problem is when you lose your virginity later in life, you realize what you've been missing that entire time. You have now filled a hole you didn't even know you had. Sorry for the pun. So that's all you want. And it becomes this big special moment when you had this realization what you've been missing all your life, and this person provided it. Lorne has sex with one woman. She is the victim of stalking forever. The other scenario I want to present Lorne's dream would be to have a stalker. Someone who is solely focused on him, who would call him nonstop, someone who would verbally abuse him because he sees that as closeness and he sees that as flirting and as quality time. We've seen it time and time again when Debbie's yelling at him and he's laughing, when she's screaming at him about don't be an asshole and he's laughing, I was pissed off. Lorne would be telling everybody about this lunatic woman who was driving by his house and coming to see him, and if she was mad at him, see, Lorne's not smart enough to realize if he rejected her for whatever reason, he was racist towards her, or he was, didn't like heavyset women, whatever the issue was, and he rejected her, he would still welcome that person into his life because it would make him feel special. It would make him feel unique. He wouldn't understand the dangers. It wouldn't become an issue until she started messing with his mom. If she got him fired from his job, he could now blame that on the stalker. I am to the point now where I think if Lorne had hooked up with a young trans, boobs and a penis, as long as the skirt didn't come off, Lorne would be okay. But then eventually he'd be like, take your skirt up, I want to see your butt. And then eventually, and you know where this is going. But I think even that, at this point in his life, something he claims he can't stand, homophobia, and obviously transphobia, all that crap, Lorne has it. But what I'm saying is, anyone, even the people he would normally say disgust him, that attention would be so welcomed, he would actually fall in love with that individual, most likely. He would see that as courting. At least I think so. It wouldn't matter. Now, a straight up guy, no, not at all. But anything that looked female would be just fine with him. He'd be bragging about it. He wouldn't cut off communication with the stalker, even if that stalker was messing with his mom. He'd try to negate it. He'd try to lessen it. But he wouldn't want all of that attention to go away. He'd want to keep it. It would be his prized possession. People would be screaming at him, get a restraining order. Be careful, Lorne. This person is crazy. They're showing up at your work. They're following you to Walmart. Why can't you see this? Well, there's a reason. All of that behavior is normal to him. All of that is behavior that he has exhibited. Now, that same behavior he has exhibited, if it began to inconvenience him, if it began to take his control away, he would start complaining about it. The exact same behavior that these women were complaining that he did, that he got angry that they were accusing him of doing, he would be doing the same thing. If Lorne stalked a stalker, that stalker would say, wow, that's some skills right there. That guy's got some skills. He can't leave the state. He can't. That's the only saving grace for these women, because they could move. Most of you would change your number, throw away your phone, and get out of Dodge quickly if a psycho like this started stalking you. But what if you couldn't leave the state? You didn't have the money. You didn't have anywhere to go. Your job was there. And this guy was there. That's how a lot of these Forensic Files episodes go. They couldn't leave. They couldn't get away. And they end up dead. Now, do I think Lorne would kill a woman if he was allowed to stalk her for more than a couple years? Yes. Yes, I do. If his behavior escalated and it wasn't stopped, it wasn't prevented, I think he would snap, especially if he saw that she was happy with another man. Because, this really sucks, Debbie, I just wish we were past all this, because he doesn't understand how a relationship works, how to get into one, and what someone looks like when they're trying to escape one. Those are my rambling opinions for today. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one.